I found Phil at the animal shelter with a bad case of mange. They said he had a skin condition. He was itchy and underweight. When I got home, he would scratch himself so much he would go into seizures and he would cry. Cupcake was also at the animal shelter, and he was extremely skinny, but otherwise seemed healthy. He's probably 8 to 10 months old and just so skinny. Who's that? I found them the day after Mike died, and I was still in shock and grieving. So I became very attached to these two boys. Look at it. Look at how tall he is. Look at him stand on his little itchy butt. Huh? Who is that? When we got home, Phil was treated with ivermectin. I set them up in a CNC cage, and initially I had them together, but they seemed skittish and they didn't quite trust each other, so I put a divider down the middle. I hope that someday I might be able to bond them together. Mange mites are subdermal parasites that burrow under the skin and cause incredible itching and discomfort. Even after the first treatment, Phil was scratching just as much as ever. His scratching was so bad that he needed to wear a sweater. I took a sock and cut holes in it and made a sweater for him. He hated going in it, but once inside it, it stopped him from scratching and it stopped him from going into seizures. The sweater would usually start to shred and get dirty and need to be changed every couple days. He cried whenever I took it off. I gave him children's Benadryl for the itchiness, which helped a little bit. Even after completing the course of ivermectin, he still scratched and itched and cried every time I removed the sweater. Even for 5 minutes to let his skin underneath breathe, he would still scratch himself into a frenzy. He would cry, and I was afraid he was going to go into another seizure. The first night I had him, he scratched and cried and scratched himself into a seizure, and it was heartbreaking to see, and I felt helpless and powerless to do anything to stop it. Underneath his sweater, he was starting to lose fur. Around where the collar was, the fur was just not growing back or kind of rubbing off, as his skin wasn't used to having clothes or a sweater tightly wrapped around him for that long. But I had to keep it on because every time I took it off, he would scratch and open a wound and it would scab up. I needed to figure out some way to wean him off the sweater because every time I took it off for a few minutes, he would scratch himself and reopen the cut and scratch the scab off. I knew he couldn't continue to wear the sweater forever, so every time I made a new one, I made them smaller and smaller. Eventually, Phil was wearing a guinea pig tank top. The scabs underneath healed, and one day I took the tank top off and he wasn't scratching that bad, so I left it off, and he managed to go a whole day without crying. And then the whole night. His skin had healed, his fur grew back, and he was continuing to gain weight. Did I mention that he's been getting along great with Cupcake? They seemed to trust each other because when I took the divider down, they got along. There was no chasing and no chattering. Cupcake has put on so much weight. He's healthy and strong, and they're getting along great. They love to play together, and they are so much fun to watch. These boys have really found a place in my heart, and it's going to be so hard to give them up. I keep telling myself that I just want to keep an eye on them a little longer to make sure that they stay healthy. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. I want to thank everyone out there for their support. You've helped me be able to make such a big difference in so many lives, and for that I'm so grateful, and I feel so privileged to be able to do that. I'm going to keep on doing it, so keep on watching. Until next time.